James, a diligent and hard-working family man, had been married to Emma for 8 years. Their life seemed picture-perfect. James worked as an engineer, while Emma held a managerial role in a prestigious company. Together, they had built a comfortable home and shared dreams for the future. One evening, James noticed Emma was unusually preoccupied with her phone, smiling at texts and guarding the screen closely. At first, he brushed it off, attributing it to work stress or harmless chatter. But as days turned into weeks, her behavior became increasingly suspicious. Late-night work meetings, cryptic phone calls, and an emotional distance that James couldn't ignore. Determined to understand what was happening, James began observing subtle clues. A peculiar scent of unfamiliar cologne on her jacket, a noticeable change in her demeanor, and the way her eyes darted away when he asked about her day. It all added up to something unsettling. James decided he needed answers, but he knew he had to tread carefully. James's suspicion grew stronger, and he realized he couldn't ignore the signs any longer. Late one evening, while Emma was out for another work meeting, James decided to take a closer look at her behavior. He opened her laptop, which she usually left at home, and noticed her email account was still logged in. Hesitant at first, James clicked on a recent thread marked urgent. What he found wasn't definitive proof of wrongdoing but enough to raise more questions. A series of overly casual and personal exchanges with her boss, Mark. The tone of the emails didn't sit right with James. They weren't outright inappropriate, but the familiarity between the two felt unusual for a professional relationship. The next day, James decided to dig deeper. He carefully checked their shared bank account and noticed unusual charges, lavish dinners, unexplained hotel bookings, and expensive gifts that Emma had never mentioned. Still, James didn't want to jump to conclusions. Instead, he decided to confirm his suspicions with tact and precision. He reached out to a trusted friend, Liam, who worked in private investigations. James explained the situation, and Liam agreed to help, promising discretion. Liam worked quickly and quietly. Within a few days, he provided James with detailed information. The findings were hard to stomach. Emma had been spending an unusual amount of time with her boss, Mark, outside of work hours. Photographs showed them meeting at a cafe, laughing in a way that seemed more than friendly, and leaving the same hotel on multiple occasions. Despite the emotional weight of the evidence, James remained calm. He knew he needed a plan. Confrontation was inevitable, but he wanted to handle it with dignity and purpose. Acting impulsively wouldn't help anyone. Instead of reacting out of anger, James decided to channel his energy into something constructive. First, he documented everything. He saved the photos, emails, and bank statements. Next, he started quietly consulting a lawyer to understand his options and protect his interests. James wasn't just thinking about himself. He wanted to ensure that any actions he took wouldn't harm his future or jeopardize the life they had built together. In the meantime, he maintained his composure at home. He continued to treat Emma kindly, despite the growing tension in his heart. James wanted to ensure she had no idea he was aware of her actions, giving him time to prepare his next steps. James knew he couldn't let the situation break him. Instead, he decided to take control and carefully craft a plan that would bring clarity and justice, without stooping to hostility. He spent a few days reflecting on the kind of outcome he wanted: closure, fairness, and the opportunity to move forward without bitterness. Step 1 of his plan was to test Emma's honesty. Over dinner one evening, he casually asked how things were going at work. Emma hesitated, her response vague. "Busy as always," she said, quickly changing the subject. James noticed the nervous shift in her demeanor. The next step involved enlisting Liam's help again. This time, James asked for assistance in setting up a scenario that would test the boundaries of Emma's relationship with Mark. Liam posed as a client interested in hiring Emma's company for a project. He orchestrated a meeting where Mark and Emma were present, allowing James to observe their interaction from a distance. The meeting revealed much. Emma's body language toward Mark was far too familiar for James to dismiss. Though they kept their interaction professional during the meeting, the stolen glances and subtle gestures spoke volumes. James now had all the confirmation he needed. Rather than confronting Emma outright, James focused on step 3, protecting himself and ensuring his response would align with his values. He finalized the paperwork with his lawyer and began documenting his own efforts to repair the relationship, should he need to prove his fairness later. With the evidence in hand and his plan ready, James decided it was time to address the situation. One evening, he invited Emma to sit down for a heart-to-heart talk. His tone was calm but firm, and his words were deliberate. "Emma, I've noticed things have been different between us lately," he began. "You've seemed distant, and I feel like there's something you're not telling me. Is there anything you'd like to share?" Emma shifted uncomfortably in her chair, avoiding his gaze. "It's just work stress," she mumbled. "Nothing to worry about." James took a deep breath, steadying his emotions. "Emma, I've been noticing patterns that don't add up. Late nights, unusual expenses, and your connection with Mark. I've tried to give you space and trust, but I can't ignore the signs anymore. I need honesty from you." Her face froze, and the weight of her silence confirmed what James had feared. "I didn't mean for things to get complicated," Emma finally whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. James didn't react with anger or accusations. Instead, he maintained his calm. "Emma, this isn't just about you and me, it's about trust, respect, and the life we've built together. I need to understand where we stand and if you want to work through this." Emma admitted to crossing emotional boundaries with Mark, but insisted it hadn't gone further. James listened but knew he had to verify her claims through the evidence he already had. He explained that he had been aware of the situation and had taken steps to prepare for this conversation. After the conversation, James gave Emma time to process everything. He made it clear that their future depended on honesty and accountability. While Emma apologized profusely, James still felt uncertain about her intentions. He decided to proceed cautiously, prioritizing clarity over rushed decisions. James scheduled a meeting with a professional mediator, someone who could guide them through the emotional complexities of the situation. Emma reluctantly agreed, realizing that this might be their only chance to salvage their relationship. During the session, James laid everything on the table: the evidence, his feelings of betrayal, and his hopes for transparency. Emma, visibly emotional, admitted that her connection with Mark had crossed lines she never intended to. She claimed it was a result of feeling neglected, though James had always been present and supportive. "I know I made a terrible mistake," Emma said through tears. "But I want to fix this. I want to rebuild what we had." James listened but remained firm. "Emma, rebuilding trust isn't just about words, it's about actions. If we're going to move forward, it will require time, effort, and complete honesty." To test her commitment, James proposed a clear plan. Cut all ties with Mark. Emma agreed to transfer to a different department and end all unnecessary contact with her boss. Transparency. They set boundaries for open communication, including sharing schedules and finances to rebuild trust. Couples counseling. They both agreed to seek professional help to address underlying issues in their marriage. For James, this wasn't just about fixing the relationship. It was about ensuring that his values and self-respect were intact. Months passed, and James and Emma worked diligently to rebuild their relationship. The process was anything but easy, requiring patience, vulnerability, and consistent effort. True to her word, Emma cut all ties with Mark, transferred to a different department, and focused on earning James's trust back. Couples counseling proved to be a transformative experience for both. They uncovered underlying issues that had gone unspoken for years: Emma's feelings of being unappreciated despite James's efforts, and James's tendency to internalize stress instead of sharing it with her. Slowly but steadily, they began to reconnect on a deeper level. For James, forgiveness didn't come overnight. It was a deliberate choice he made each day, balancing his emotions with his commitment to their shared history and future. He set firm boundaries to ensure the relationship remained healthy and transparent. Emma, on her part, worked tirelessly to show James her sincerity. She took on the responsibility of rebuilding trust, from openly discussing her schedule to creating opportunities for them to spend quality time together. The couple emerged stronger, not just as partners but as individuals who had learned the value of communication and accountability. Their relationship became a testament to the power of resilience, as they turned their pain into an opportunity for growth. As they celebrated their 9th anniversary, James reflected on the journey they had taken. It wasn't the path he had envisioned, but it was one that taught him the importance of self-respect, forgiveness, and the strength of human connection.